I do have a song from that whole region. I was an artist in residence once for the Entrada Institute, which is an environmental arts organization out there. And they have an artist in residence every year to compose music or art or create art based on the Colorado Plateau. And that's when I wrote that Butch Cassidy song was Here, which is on the recording. I think I'll sing that. And I was down near the Capitol Reef National Park. Everything around there is based on some of the history there, and Butch Cassidy was a main figure of the history there. Butch Cassidy was here. That little sign, that little phrase is just about everywhere you go. What is it about Butch Cassidy? What is it about some of these outlaws that are so interesting to people? So I did a lot of research about it. I read Robert Patterson's book, but then I also did some other research from periodicals that were in libraries in that area about Butch Cassidy, and they interviewed some of the people that he'd known in the area. One particular thing stuck out when people were discussing the question of, was this person a good person or a bad person, or where along the lines is the moral compass of someone like Butch Cassidy, who is, not only was he known as an outlaw, but he was also known as a very generous person. He paid off mortgages for people. He was very much into small business. He didn't talk about big business these days, but back then he was against the onset of big business in the 1800s. He was He already saw that stuff go down. And that was part of his personal philosophy. And so there's always been a perspective, the question of whether or not this person was okay or not. And a lot of that is in the song, but also there's this one statement that his friend said in this interview that was printed, which I think about now for myself. He said, Butch was square with himself in his own estimation, I'm sure. Which I really like that statement.
There you go.
So I ask myself if I'm square with myself in my own estimation. I find that a really great sentence.
I think we all ask ourselves that from time to time.
A lot of the people that were roaming around the country there and living out of the way of the great populations, they were philosophers and naturalists, and they wind up in these circumstances. So here we go with Butch Cassidy Was Here. Before he was a rustler, he was Robert Leroy Parker, born in Utah in 1866. He was the first of 13 children, once such a little babe, with no appetite for a simple life, and neither would it stay that way. The ground here is so dry, here it can choke the means of living. Nature's only kind itself when it's being warm and giving. We've tamed it with provisions, we've had some farms and schemes. Why should Bob's life be tamed like that for the sake of someone else's dreams? Some say it's all in how you look at it, man. They say it's all in how you look at it. We are an animal of language, and when all was said and done, when he changed his name to Butch Cassidy, it sealed his fate on the tongues of the lawmen and the women and the cowboys and the young. Now people still find wonder in his outlaw trail and the guns. So he took to rustling cattle from the long arms of the rich. He fought against the onset of the big business, and he took to stealing fortunes from the mining companies' spit. And he grew to love the smell of gold, and he grew to love the chase of it. Some say it's all in how you look at it, man. They say it's all in how you look at it. All the stories of his robberies became renowned throughout the West. He romanced the getaways. Reputation would attest that the discretion of the desert can breed the worst and the best, where even the law is sometimes suspect by the needs of the rest. Oh, his wild bunch and the ladies, they grew richer every year. From Castlegate to Robber's Roost, they reigned with a little fear, and with the dubious distinction of being fair with the poor. Butch was square with himself in his own estimation, I'm sure. Some say it's all in how you look at it, man. They say it's all in how you look at it. And by the time the century ended and town lights began to glow, the wild men were driven from the Colorado Plateau. While the banks increased in numbers, so did the posses grow. So they left their canyon country and they echoed south through Mexico. And in defining acts of bravery and our relation to fear, who of us will spar with chance, will enough to be revered, or grapple with our enemies until our bodies are cold? We might live another year, but we say Butch Cassidy was here. Some say it's all in how you look at it, man. They say it's all in how you look at it.
All right.
Wow, I can't believe I got through that. A lot of lyrics in some of my songs, and I just have to cross my fingers when I start.
Kate MacLeod's here live in the studio with us. We have another quick break to take, but we'll be right back after this.
You're tuned to the broadcast service of Colby Sawyer College, WSCS 90.9 FM in New London.
And we are back here on Out of the Woods. Kate MacLeod's here live in the studio with us.
We were just talking about some more of the songs on the recording, the at Ken Sanders Rare Books recording of mine. I'm going to sing this song called The Annual Menhaden. This was inspired by Peter Mathiassen's book, Men's Lives. I love this book. It was a documentation of a community on the tip of Long Island. It was a fishing community. And the discussion in the book, the point that he was getting at was that communities like that are dissipating, and the strength of communities, the strength of small communities and their rituals, and the strength of people doing things together over long periods of time is being lost. And it's definitely worth talking about and singing about. And so this particular song, The Annual Menhaden, is about the annual time once a year. The fishermen would net the Menhaden fish for fertilizer, and they would send it to the farmers to plant in the ground. They would do this together. It took 40 or 50 men to handle the nets in the water, and the women would be cooking on the beach all day. This is a big deal. It sounds like a lot of fun to me. But I also couldn't remember the last time I saw 40 or 50 men in my neighborhood doing anything of any use together. So this is The Annual Menhaden. Praise the Atlantic and the Montauk Sound and the ghost of a chance of making a living being fishermen and doing that seasonal dance. By hauling, hauling in the annual Menhaden. It was once a year for the spring haul, when out of the earth came the need for Menhaden. They're taking it inland to make the corn crops so much better for the sake of them all. By hauling in the annual Menhaden. And how many of them did it take? How many of them did it take? It took 40 or 50 men, hoping that the net won't break, and never did one stand alone. It was early in the morning to late in the day, usually caught in the dusting of the spray, but somewhere between the hard line and what had to give. And the men who were lost, who would haunt all the rest of them, everyone helped and the sea gave away for them. The sun on the water, new hope for the day. And how many of them did it take? How many of them did it take? It took 40 or 50 men, hoping that the net won't break, and never did one stand alone.
So, Long Island. Now that all that's out there are people in Speedos and things, right?
Yeah, they talked about that. He talked about that in the book.
Yeah, anywhere you go on the East Coast now, if you want to go to the beach, I'm sure it's a lot different than it used to be. What else do you want to do?
Well, let's see. I do want to sing a love song before I'm done for the evening. And I think I will do the one that's on recording. It's based on The Time Traveler's Wife, which was made into a movie.
We're talking about Ken Sanders' rare books.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you my lonely heart. It is the only one I have, and I am only me. When in the present or the past, the future always asks that we will always be. In love, in and out of time, before broken rhymes can fool the world, then time can lead us together. As sure as the meadow where we met, one of us is there when the other's bare and bleeding. We've traveled years without regret, sometimes in misstep, other times in grieving. In love, in and out of time, before broken rhymes can fool the world, then time can lead us to that in its secret way, love comes from somewhere else. And as it holds us to a day, we become as one as we become ourselves. If love must be scattered over time, if we're lost or if we die, memories avail us. And somewhere in the crossing of the lines, in the questions of the mind, the truth has never failed us. In love, in and out of time, if our broken rhymes can fool the world, then time can lead us to together.
Very nice. What was the title of that one?
That's called Love in and Out of Time.
Okay.
And it doesn't have the same title as the book. Some of those songs have the same title as the book, and some of them don't. Well, it's just sometimes a song just called out for another title. Specifically, the song on there called The Solace of the Broken, which was inspired by Leslie Marmon Silko's book Ceremony. And Leslie Marmon Silko is a very important American author. Ceremony was the first time really in print that the issue of post-traumatic stress disorder in the Native American population from fighting the white man's wars, as they say. She wrote about this in that book. It's a very interesting book about this young man who came back from war, who had lost his brother in warfare, and his brother died in his arms, and he came back to the reservation, and all of the guys who came back to the reservation were a mess and were medicating themselves with alcohol, and there wasn't any treatment for all this. It's called Ceremony, and the book is, but my song was called The Solace of the Broken. So I can't remember that right this second, otherwise I would sing it, but you'll have to buy the recording.
That's right.
Listen to it.
So you have songs on there inspired by more than one Native American author.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So is that a subject area that you are especially interested
in? I don't know. I'd like to find out what everything is about, especially having lived out west for so long. But, my own family on my mother's side dates back in Maryland from the 1632. This song is called New Homeland. So when ships come up the Chesapeake Bay, they took a long time to come up the bay, especially when people didn't know the bay as well. It was still new to them. So this man is in the song is waiting for his wife, has been waiting for years, and she's coming up the harbor on this ship. She sailed across the sea with her white sails riding the westward breeze, with her bow riding high like the proudest of things, the loveliest thing her hold will bring. Where did she sail across the sea to bring my love nearer to me, with her head held high like the proudest of things, the promise of love her heart does bring. Today she will come to my island, where I've planted the grasses green, and the house that I built with my own hands will welcome her to to a new homeland. Soon did I rise with the light of the day to be first in the line for the gangway, and well did I dress in the finest of things to greet what that sturdy ship would bring. And long did I wait till the morning was gone while I watched that ship. She sailed, oh, she stood on the deck like the fairest of queens, the promise of joy her sight does bring. Today she will come to my island where I've planted the grasses green, and the house that I built with my own hands will welcome her to a new homeland. And well did she look like I thought she would be, the finest of English ladies, with her head held high like the proudest of things, a promise of love her heart does bring. Today she will come to my island where I planted the grasses green, and the house that I built with my own hands will welcome her to a new homeland.
Once again here on Out of the Woods, New Homeland. That is also on here on the new live CD, Kate MacLeod at Ken Sanders Rare Books. You have a website as well, katemacleod.com.
Yes, Kate MacLeod. MacLeod is in the Highlander.
That's right, with the
you
A.
You have to spell it right.
MacLeod. Head on over there, check it out.
Do we have time for one more?
Yeah, we can try and squeeze one in real quick.
Okay.
You got a quick one?
This is based on Anam Cara by John O'Donohue, which is one of my favorite mystical philosophers. He is a Catholic priest, but he was also a specialist in Celtic ancient religious mysticism. So this is called Anam Cara, a book in which he talks a lot about the nature of the human heart and what that is. In searching the infinity of our interiority, a wholesome complexity is found. In satisfying our hungry transparency, imagination difference are unbound. In nurturing the honesty of our neglected beauty, icons and imagery unfold. And though you can't go back, you clutch confessions of a traveler while watching from the edges of your soul. abandonment, the tenderness that sorrow lent transfigures into whim. If once we were taught to embrace the generous light from space, why do we struggle now with within? Our invisible and exiled reach up for belonging and guide us to a place of furthermore. Our hidden self will linger in the presence of the texture of the soul, in the innocence of dawn. For why, what is it you're waiting for? Why look for love when it is yours? Beyond the inner fences and landscape of our senses, the soul knows the way for the ongoing process of the heart that grows, supported by the secret gathering of days, for the Anam Cara and the heart that knows, supported by gathering ways, for the love of the Anam Cara and the heart that grows.
Wonderful stuff. Thank you, Kate MacLeod, for coming by.
Thank you, John. Really, I love radio. Actually, I have a secret. I love radio even more than concerts. So if I play in a radio show, I'm so excited about it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we'll definitely have to do it again. Well, folks, we've run out of time, and you know what that means. It is that time for that magical song that takes us on out.